When Lavar Ball said that all three of his sons belong in the NBA, many people were skeptical. The oldest one, Lonzo, was an understandable NBA prospect. At 6'6" with elite vision and the ability to create for others, it seemed like a surefire thing that he would be in the league. And the youngest brother, LaMelo, well, he got to learn from his older brothers and possessed a natural ability to play, so him making the NBA seemed like a real possibility as well. But the middle brother, LiAngelo, that didn't seem too likely. At 6'5" with a stocky frame, he seemed more like a football player than a hooper. With legal troubles, dropping out of college, playing overseas, and some G League experience, LiAngelo isn't taking a quick route to the league like his brothers. But looking back on Lavar saying that all three sons belong in the NBA, it turns out the crazy part wasn't his seemingly outlandish prediction. The crazy part is that he was right. I'm attempting to make the most compelling argument possible of why LiAngelo Ball is an NBA player, so without taking any more time, let's get started. Obviously not getting drafted hurts Gelo's chances of making the league, but maybe not quite as much as you would think. Of the 540 players that played a minute last season in the NBA, 270 were selected in the first round. Another 133 were selected in the second round. That leaves 137 players, or 25.4% of the league last season, that was undrafted. The odds aren't in Gelo's favor, but they also aren't impossible. When looking at his build, he has sufficient size to play either the shooting guard or small forward position. At 6'5" and 230 pounds, his physical frame is not an issue. When looking at his play style, there are more encouraging signs. Gelo's main strength on the offensive end is his three-point shooting, and luckily for him, the NBA is becoming a more three-point heavy league. Back in the 2000 season, teams were only attempting 13.7 threes per game on average. In the 2010-2011 season, it was up to 18 per game. And this past season, teams were attempting 34.6 three-point attempts on average. This evolution of basketball puts shooting at a premium and makes floor spacing a necessity. Lavar has even gone as far to say that LiAngelo is the best shooter in the family, and I would have to agree. In the limited sample size that was the Summer League, Gelo shot 18 of 48 on field goals, or 37.5%, and 10 of 29 from 3, or 34.5%. While that's obviously not an exceptional number, it is one that I wouldn't worry too much about. I think some necessary context to LiAngelo's shooting numbers is that he was essentially forced to take difficult shots, due to a lack of playing time and open looks from his teammates. He was only playing 17.4 minutes per game, which is not a ton to begin with, and when he was out there, his teammates seemed to not want to pass to him that much. I understand that missing open teammates happens, but it just seemed very frequent. When your biggest shot at the NBA is spent on the bench, and your teammates are wasting your open looks, the only logical thing to do is shoot as much as you can when you're out there. This inevitably will lead to more difficult shots and lower percentages. And I think that can be part of the reason for Gelo's shooting percentages being lower than normal. Not to mention that players don't always shoot their averages, hence why it's an average. Having a 5-game stretch with a slight dip in how you're shooting the ball is completely normal. When looking back at LiAngelo's time in Lithuania, which was a larger sample size of 14 games, we see his three-point shooting rise to 34 of 82, or 41.5%. I feel like this number is a much more accurate representation of the shooter that Gelo is. Aside from LaMelo playing on the team, I think the Hornets are actually a pretty good fit for Gelo. Their head coach James Borrego has been putting an emphasis on three-point shooting in the past few years. He has said that in my system, we can never have enough shooting. That is something we will continue to address, because that makes the game easier for everyone. In his 3 years since taking over as Charlotte's head coach, they have shot more threes in each season than the year prior. They're also consistently finishing in the top half of the league in three-point attempts. Not to mention, in this offseason, they have lost 2 of their highest volume three-point shooters. Devontae Graham shot 8.7 threes per game last season, while Malik Monk shot 5. With an obvious focus on increasing outside shooting, and less of their shooters from last year on the roster, LiAngelo would be a perfect fit to join his little brother on the team. Obviously there's more to basketball than just shooting, so let's dive into some film and evaluate the other parts of Gelo's game. I think the thing that impressed me the most from the Summer League was his hustle. His effort was through the roof at all times, and it was obvious that he was working harder than everyone else. In this clip, he starts behind just about everyone and runs as hard as he can back on defense. His effort is rewarded with a steal and ending the opponent's 3-on-2 fast break. In this next clip, Gelo scoops up the loose ball, finds a teammate, then hustles for the loose ball again, and throws a perfect tip lob to a teammate. If you aren't paying attention, these subtle plays can go unnoticed, but they can make a big difference in the result of the game. There's a high degree of difficulty in this play, and I think that shows that LiAngelo has a nice feel for the game and very good awareness. I can't overstate how much harder he was working than everyone else. I would say he had the most effort in every game he played, and that's not hyperbole. You could see how badly he was trying for his team out there. Take this play for example, where he's on the opposing free throw line and every single Trailblazer defender is in front of him. He just puts his head down and sprints past all of them to create an open look. When looking at his rebounding, it definitely could have been better. He averaged 2 rebounds per game, which in 17.4 minutes is 4.14 per 36 minutes. He will need to rebound at a higher level to add value to his game. However, this is not a deal breaker and doesn't look quite as bad when compared with other NBA wings. Andrew Wiggins averages 5.3 rebounds per 36 minutes. Brandon Ingram, he averages 5.14. Zach LaVine averages 5.13, and Jeremy Grant averages 4.88. These guys do provide value other than rebounding, so it doesn't matter quite as much if they don't do it at a high level, but the point still stands, that LiAngelo isn't as far off as you might think. The most fair criticism of him is his lack of ability to create his own shot off the dribble. The few times he tried it, he didn't look comfortable. That is something that he most definitely will need to improve if he wants to have long-term success in the NBA. While most of his attempts came off the catch-and-shoot situation, he did show flashes of coming off of ball screens and off-ball movement with positive results. In the right system, I think he could be valuable in these scenarios. It's difficult to watch this sequence and tell me that LiAngelo Ball is not an NBA player. I feel like he has the potential to be a spark plug off the bench for any team. His defense is solid, I would say. Against quicker players he may struggle a bit, but when it comes to defending bigger players like he does here, I think he'll be just fine. His ability to get hot quick and make multiple threes in a short time should be intriguing for a lot of teams. I think having someone that's explosive scorer off the bench could add a lot of value to a team. If I was an NBA GM, I would take a long and hard look at adding LiAngelo to my team, minimally in the G League. He has the potential to be a three-point sniper, will be a high energy guy, and could develop into a very useful bench player. He's also still very young, at just 22 years old, so he has time to continue to develop his game. When it comes down to it, LiAngelo may only get one shot at the NBA, but from what I've seen so far, one shot may be all he needs.